So what do you do when a bomb blows off your arm and a leg? Give up? Feel sorry for yourself? Use addictions to ease the pain? Well, sadly, that happens to a lot of combat vets, but not Scott Quilty. This retired U.S. Army captain survived an IED blast in Iraq, but lost an arm and a leg. Now this extraordinary vet with a can-do spirit is involved in Survivor Corps, a global network that helps people overcome wars and other conflicts. Scott Quilty joins us live from Washington. Great to see you, Scott.
Hey, great to see you, Kyra. Thank you for having me.
You bet. If you don't mind, if you could just take me back to 2006, that day you were on patrol and you were faced with an IED. What do you remember from that moment?
Absolutely. So I deployed to Iraq in 2006 as a platoon leader with the 10th Mountain Division. I was moving into a position embedded with an Iraqi army unit and walking up and boom, like life explodes. I wake up 5 days later in a hospital to find out that my right arm and my right leg didn't survive the explosion.
You know, I've talked to a lot of guys, women too, when that has happened, and they come to and they know what has happened, and they don't want to look down, they don't want to look over, but they always say to whomever it is that's over them, you know, what happened? What did I lose? Am I okay? Do you remember the first thing that came out of your mouth when you realized what had happened?
I've been told that I was concerned about the men that I was with. And it was a few weeks in the hospital and a phone call from in-country from some of the men that I was leading to reassure me that, that they all made it out okay. And that was important in moving on into rehabilitation.
Wow, moving beyond yourself and thinking about everybody else. Well, you know, it makes sense because I was reading that you actually wrote that your injuries, that you gained more from your injuries than you lost. Tell me what you mean by that.
Absolutely.
And why do you feel that way?
No, absolutely. I think I learned through my injuries early on that we're not the sum of our parts, right? That I lost an arm and a leg and a job, but that I gained a sense of self. It was the toughest part, Kyra, for me in going through rehabilitation was answering some of those existential questions. Who am I? How am I going to go on from here? And how am I going to continue to provide for my family?
And I know your wife, Anne Marie, has been amazing, and that has helped you get through this a lot. And as you think about, well, as you've pondered those questions, but then you've noticed how much you have with your family and your friends, and hey, you're alive, you decided to get involved with Survivors Corps. Tell me what you're doing through Survivors Corps and how this is not only keeping you thinking positively, but making a difference in the lives of others.
Absolutely. Survivor Corps is a global network of people that have survived conflict, that are helping each other overcome the traumatic effects, to move beyond those effects, and then to give back to the communities in which they live. And we're doing that right here. So I joined Survivor Corps to launch the U.S. program, which is helping veterans and connecting veterans to other veterans, right? I know from personal experience that some of the best help comes from those that have been there too. And so we're working to do that right now.
And I know you met with Barack Obama. I'm curious, what did you tell him? What did you tell him about the war in Iraq? You had to have spoken from the heart, Scott, knowing you.
Absolutely. I got to meet the president-elect while he was on the campaign trail, and it was a pretty powerful moment. Powerful moment for me. And
what'd you tell him, Scott?
Oh, what did I tell him? Well, I talked a little bit about rehab. I was pretty early on at that time, and told him a little bit about my story and how I'm trying to rise above my individual circumstance and to continue to serve as a veteran.
Did you give him any advice about the war in Iraq or the way vets have been treated or the way it's affecting the men and women coming back?
No, I didn't. No, didn't do anything like that.
Well, that should be follow-up conversation number 2. He could probably use your insight. Scott Quilty, once again, it's Survivor Corps. Log on to the site, find out what Scott's doing. It's pretty powerful. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Kyra.
You bet.